Kenyatta Band.
Let's start it off in Paris County, Kentucky, where a man named Bass Webb is in court awaiting trial, but the judge doesn't want to be in charge of this trial.
There's no way I'm going to try this case or have any further proceedings, or I have to see you for one further second.
What you might not know is that Bass is actually here because of 2 murder charges, and during the trial of the first murder, he tried to run over 2 of the people that worked on his trial with his car. This is the reason that the judge recused herself from the case, because she knew the 2 people Bass tried to run over. But then, something weird happens. After the judge gave that statement, Bass thought it would be a good idea to pull off a stunt that would end up shocking not just the judge, but everyone in the courtroom.
Set for the very next week.
That's right, he thought it would be a great idea to spit on the woman who basically has his life in her hands. But thankfully the judge was calm and just cleaned up and sent him back to jail until he gets another judge appointed to him. But Bass isn't that clever to stay out of trouble for that long. Bass, along with some of his fellow inmates, started a riot in the prison that needed armored guards to stop it, because Bass had the genius idea to rip off a metal phone and swing it at the guards. And at this point, he is probably never going to see the outside world again, because in addition to the 15 years he got for the phone swinging, he was given 37 years for attempting to run over the 2 court workers. But that's not all. While in jail, he admitted to a murder and was given another 50 years, adding it all up to 102 years in prison. But when he shows up for court once again, he's sporting something even more crazy. He walked in with his head filled up with tattoos, and it is the people that Bass wants dead. Among those were all judges, prosecutors, cops, and the media. But what was most shocking was that he had 3 names crossed out that he labeled Rats 1 to 3. After the case was heard, it turns out that Bass here choked his girl to death and buried her body in a shallow grave.
You have found the defendant guilty of the offense of intentional murder.
Bass was sentenced to life in prison for that crime with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Mr. O'Neal, you need to speak audibly so that the jury can hear what you're saying.
Yes, ma'am, I haven't begun yet. I was talking to my father.
I know what you're thinking. Well, this is a rather odd fellow here, standing in the middle of the court. He's dressed like a lawyer and is about to give a statement like one. But something seems off here, and you are definitely right. This is Ronnie O'Neal. He has had quite the past to get to this point. When he was 29, O'Neal shot and killed his girlfriend. But he didn't stop there. He used a hatchet to kill their 9-year-old daughter too, but their 8-year-old son was fortunate enough to survive after being stabbed by O'Neal, who ended up setting the house on fire as well. But the 911 call came from him, and it was not what you might think it would be.
911, what is your emergency?
Hey, I just been attacked by some white demons inside Kiki. Kiki, her name is Kiki, and she tried to kill me.
What's she at?
After that disturbing call, O'Neal was arrested after the officers caught him fleeing the burning house, and after a psychiatric evaluation, he was then cleared to represent himself in court. And that's where we pick up.
Mr. Khalil Brown was a help to them proving me guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. They would have called Mr. Khalil Brown. But I called Mr. Khalil Brown to be a witness for me. And I didn't ask him to lie about one thing that he saw that night. I asked him to tell the jury exactly what he saw that night. And you have to ask yourself why that is. Because he's playing a fraudulent damn recording of me beating Kenyatta Barron 15 damn times when that did not happen. If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, God damn it on that!
After this weird tirade, O'Neal went on to not affirm his innocence, but actually admit to his actions.
You heard Khalil Brown. He said that he was actually sure that I only hit Kenyatta Barron 3 times. You heard. I called him to tell you that. I ain't running from nothing. They didn't call Khalil Brown to tell you that. I did. You have to ask yourself why that is. Because I want you to know the actual facts. I did kill Kenyatta Barron.
That is a layup for a lawyer if you've ever seen one. They just saw the defendant admit to committing the murder right in front of the jury. But that was not all. The surviving son was also in court to testify.
I just saw my dad holding a shotgun and my mom, and mom screaming at him.
And your father had a shotgun. What happened next? What did he do?
My mom ran in my sister's room. My mom ran in my sister's room and terrified into the closet. And then my dad said, come in here and come kill the B-word.
Did you hear any shots from the shotgun before that?
Yes.
How many times?
1.
Was there a time when your mother was able to get out of the closet?
She was stumbling outside, and then I just saw my dad chase her.
But that wasn't all. The poor kid also told the court what his dad did to him and his sister.
He hit her with an axe. And then he went in the garage, I followed him. He put me on the ground, and then he had his foot on top. I was laying on my stomach, he had his foot on top of me, and he was holding me down. And he was lighting a match.
And when being questioned by his own father, the kid was strong and simply told the truth.
Mr. O'Neal, any questions?
How you doing, Ronnie?
Good.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Did you see me shoot your mom?
No.
Did I hurt you that night of this incident?
Yes.
I did. And how did I hurt you?
You stabbed me.
After being sentenced to 3 life sentences, O'Neal was given a chance to speak to the victims' family members, where he spent those few seconds giving his true feelings about the killings.
I am not sorry for something I didn't do, and I am not sorry for the things I did do.
Tobias Samson Roman, 27, of Fresno, was arrested Tuesday after allegedly trying to rob a kiosk worker at Bakersfield's Valley Plaza Mall. He's also accused of threatening to kill the 19-year-old woman and of brandishing a knife, according to police.
He's charged with threatening with the intent to terrorize, exhibiting a deadly weapon other than a firearm, and stalking. He's chosen to remove himself and voluntarily absent himself from the court proceedings in light of his behavior. Would you like to make a record?
During his arraignment, Roman interrupted Judge Charles R. Bramer, saying the allegations are all lies. The judge warned Roman not to speak out in court again, but Roman told the judge to be quiet instead. As deputies led Roman out of court, he mumbled something and said, "I'm going to murder you when I see you."
Roman, stand up.
My foot hurts. I can't stand up right now. Put my right hand. Give it.
Stand up, Roman.
What?
This is BF 140416. Mr. Roman, what is your true and correct name?
Tobias, my first name. That's it. Giggles or Tobias. That's it. Don't call me nothing else.
Samson Roman is present in the courthouse. Is Yasmin Medina present? She is not. At this time, I will appoint the public defender to represent Mr. Roman. The charges, Mr. Roman, are attempted robbery, second degree. Hey, Mr. Roman, you need to be quiet.
Yeah, you need to be quiet.
You get one more chance, and then you're going to be removed from the courtroom. And that'll be your choice.
Don't talk. Go
Here. You need to be.
See? I'm gonna murder you when I see you.
Whether he goes by Tobias or Giggles, he's going to be spending 3 years and 8 months in prison after threatening a public official and pulling out a weapon in public with the intent to terrorize.
On the morning of October 4th, 2016, did you agree and conspire with 2 other individuals, Delvino Gracie and Jamarius Ellison, to commit an armed robbery?
Yeah.
And who are you going to rob?
Jordan Clee.
Jordan Clee. And that afternoon, did you in fact rob Jordan Clee?
Yeah.
And did you use a gun to place him in fear in order to take his property?
Yeah.
And as a result of that armed robbery, what did you do with that gun and Mr. Jordan Clee?
Shot him.
And where did you shoot him?
On the top. My head.
And did you kill him with that shot?
Yes.
People are satisfied, Your Honor.
This is Danta Wright, and as you heard, he is here because he went to rob an unexpected kid with his friends. But instead of using the gun just to scare Jordan Clee, Wright decided to shoot him in the head, ending his life.
Armed robbery, count 3, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, count 6, the felony firearm, and an added count 7 of murder in the 2nd degree under Pact Code 750.317. That is a felony punishable by life or any term of years. In exchange for that plea at the time of sentencing, the people moved to dismiss counts 1, 4, and 5. There is a sentence agreement in this case. The sentence agreement is that on counts 2, 3, and 7, the defendant will serve 23 to 50 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections.
But then something happened in the courtroom that came as a surprise to everyone. When the judge gave Wright the chance to speak, what came out of his mouth was a bit shocking. But above that, the manner in which he spoke was what struck the judge as a bit off.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wright, what would you like to say?
I just want to tell y'all I'll be home soon. R.I.P. Keon. I love my family.
That's all you got to say.
As he gave his address to the court, he did it in an arrogant and smug way, almost like he doesn't care about the horrible murder that he committed. So the judge decided to suggest something that rarely happens.
That's all you got to say. You know, I have never in 23 years approximately ever not accepted a sentence agreement between the parties because it's bargained for, sentenced by the parties. But watching you sit there, smile and laugh and shake your head like this was no big deal, I'm very tempted to just say, I'm not going to accept this sentence agreement. We'll go to trial, and if you're convicted of felony murder, you'll go to prison for the rest of your life. That means you'll die there. That's what I'm tempted to do.
After listening to Wright act the way he did, being arrogant and bashful in front of the court, with the crime of taking a human life in front of him, the judge was mad enough that he wanted to not accept the agreement that the 2 sides had reached and presented earlier. The judge wanted to send Wright to prison for the rest of his life by sending the case to trial and having a jury decide on his fate instead of agreeing to the terms of 25 to 50 years.
Discussion with the victim's mother as well as his grandparents and some family members. They understand that obviously this is the defendant who brutally murdered their son by shooting him in the back of the head. He's shown absolutely no remorse. He's written rap songs to other murderers about continuing killing, and throughout the victim impact statements today, he smiled and he laughed throughout the entire proceeding. However, the Clee family does want to move on with this. They want to get some closure from this case. They want to try and forgive this defendant and all of his actions for what he did. And they are asking, as well as the people, that you proceed with the sentence agreement.
The family of the victim were nice enough and fed up enough with the case that they want to move on, so they didn't pursue the case further because they just want to put it behind them and heal. Wright also, through his attorney, apologized to the court and the victim's family, and the judge accepted the agreement reached between them and sentenced Wright to 25 to 50 years of prison.
Apologize to the court. His smiling was in no way meant as disrespectful either to the family, to the victim, or to this court. My client is 17 years old. He has some emotional problems and frankly was scared. And some people display fear by smiling. He really meant no disrespect. He does take this very seriously. And what I started to tell the court before my client interrupted me, was that he did admit to the probation officer during the interview that he was involved, that he did cause the death of the young man. It was never intentional. He never intended to hurt anybody. And I think he does feel bad about it. Now, at his age and in his condition, he may not be able to express it as well as some other defendants might, but he does feel bad about it.
We're here in court to watch the hearing of Paul Wade. Wade is here because he is being charged with shooting dead 2 people and also having a gun even though he is a felon. As the proceedings started, the people sitting in the chairs watching the hearing are the family of the victim.
Now I will say good afternoon. It just turned noon, so good afternoon. Erin Kennedy strikes when I'm standing in for Rob Eggert on behalf of Paul Wade. This is a little bit different. Mr. Eggert is retained on...
Quiet in the courtroom.
As you all probably know, the courtroom is not somewhere that you're not supposed to be chattering and talking, and the judge was quick to let them know. But when they didn't stop, the deputy went over and told them that he will have to put them in detention if they don't stop talking.
Mr. Eggert is retained on the 2 revocation.
Okay, hold on. Ma'am, you're going to have to leave the courtroom. I believe you.
We all family.
Okay, y'all got to not talk. Okay. No talking in the courtroom. So, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor.
After the family apologized and the woman stopped talking, after some very stern words from the judge and the deputy, the hearing can finally go on. Then, things proceed in a calm manner in the courtroom, and the judge gives the defendant a deadline to present anything he might deem important to his case, and he accepts. But as soon as he started walking out the door, things quickly kicked into high gear.
Just hold it. Okay, so if it's not here by November 1st, we're going to talk again about the public defender.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And the day before your insert date.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing.
Instantly, the courtroom descends into chaos. As he was walking out, Wade said something insulting towards the family, and that was the trigger for everything to turn violent. The family were already angry at him for killing their family member, and after that interaction, they got all the reason they needed to jump at Wade. But things would get a lot worse before they would get better. After jumping the barriers, some of the family members attacked Wade with ferocity. Wade had no choice but to try and flee. He ended up going through the door behind the judge, which leads to her chambers. The judge hit the panic button, and that made the backup enter the courtroom. The rest of the deputies went down the hall, while some tried to keep the peace inside the courtroom. The judge even went down from her chair to calm down the situation and told the family that the best thing they can do now is to stay calm and not do anything more drastic to themselves by disturbing the court even further. The altercation went on for 20 minutes, and deputies even had to use pepper spray to calm down everything.
Get out. Just step out. Step out.
Both of you are out.
Potts, let's go.
Both out, Potts.
Judge. Judge.
Right now. I'm coming.
Don't go in the hallway, Judge.
I'm not. Go, Lana. Lana, there. Go.
4 people were arrested from the family and charged with disorderly conduct and misdemeanors. As for Wade, his case is still pending and he hasn't received a sentence yet.
It is incomprehensible. You cajoled, lured, and deceived Shatisha Shealy, Angela Deskins, and Sherelda Terry to your apartment for your depraved purposes. You went on to abuse the corpses of these 3 victims. You stripped them from the waist down. You folded them in half, binding them so that their feet were up by their ears. You wrapped them in multiple layers of trash bags, and you discarded them.
We're finally in Cleveland, Ohio, to watch the sentencing of the serial killer, Michael Madison. Madison killed 3 women and abused their bodies in a sadistic way. He is in court, rightfully so, and he has been found guilty of all the 3 murders. We jump in as the judge is about to deliver the sentencing to Madison.
It is the judgment of this court that the aggravated circumstances of course of conduct, felony murder, kidnapping, felony murder, rape, of which the defendant was convicted, outweigh the mitigating factors by proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
After the judge gives the statement expressing the evil way of the murder happening, she goes on to give a chance to one of the fathers of the victims to give a victim impact statement. A victim impact statement is usually used to see how the crime has affected the victim directly using their own words and experiences. The father of the victim then approaches the podium to speak.
How you doing, Your Honor? My name is Barry Terry. Wow, that's Sherelda Terry. Right now, I guess we're supposed to, in our hearts, forgive this clown. Who's touched our families, taken my child.
The father is clearly holding back a lot of anger. As he said, he is supposed to forgive him for what he did, but he doesn't see any reason why this killer deserves any kind of forgiveness, let alone mercy. But when he turned to look at him, things get heated quickly after Madison smiles at him, and that's when the father would react, in my opinion, just like anyone should in a devastating situation like this one. As he saw Madison smugly smiling at him, the father of the victim instantly lunged at him, shocking the whole crowd, but judging by the way the deputies reacted to the situation, they were expecting this to happen and quickly pounced on the father to keep him from causing harm to Madison, no matter how much he deserved it. After this whole ordeal, the judge would wait until the situation calmed down and proceed to give the sentence to Madison.
Accordingly, the sentence of death is imposed upon the defendant Michael Madison on counts 1, 4, and 7.
Rightfully so, the judge would give the death sentence to Madison, and he would be living on death row until the time of his execution. And as for the father that lunged at him during the court proceedings, he is not charged with anything after the judge sympathized with his situation. Well, we hope you found that interesting. These are the dumbest ways that you would want to act. How would you be acting if you saw the person that hurt a member of your family? Tell us in the comments, but until we meet next time, goodbye.